All right, welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
We're diving deep today into the world of credit card rewards programs,
Oh, yeah.
which,
Everybody loves those, right?
yeah, and
Free stuff.
who doesn't love free stuff?
Right.
We have some fascinating excerpts from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Circular 2024-07
Okay.
that deals with the design, the marketing, the administration of credit card reward programs.
Interesting.
And let me tell you, it is eye-opening stuff.
Mm.
So we're going to try to help you navigate the potential pitfalls of these programs and arm you with the knowledge to make those credit card companies work for you,
Absolutely.
not the other way around.
Yeah, you don't want to be working for them.
Right?
You want them working for you.
Exactly.
There.
That's the idea.
So did you know
I did not know this.
that the CFPB is cracking down on some sneaky tactics companies use with these programs?
Really?
Get ready, because we're about to expose them.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
So,
It's interesting how credit card rewards have become almost an expectation these days, right?
yeah, they really have.
But that expectation can make us a little too trusting.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to just kind of get caught up in
Yeah.
the excitement of earning points or miles.
Exactly. It's like we're so focused on racking up those points and miles that we don't always pay attention to the fine print.
No, we don't.
So before we get into that tricky stuff,
Yeah.
can you give us a sense of just how big this whole rewards landscape is?
Sure. So get this, back in 2019, 90% of spending on general purpose credit cards was on cards with rewards programs.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, 90%.
That's almost everybody.
Pretty much. And then by the end of 2022, these cards made up 75% of all general purpose credit cards.
Oh, wow.
So a huge majority.
That is a huge majority.
And in 2022 alone, consumers earned over $40 billion. In reward, a 50% jump from just 3 years earlier?
That's enough to buy everyone in Chicago a round-trip ticket to Hawaii.
Probably. Yeah, probably more than that.
But here's where it gets a little shady.
Okay.
The CFPB also points out that consumers forfeit about $500 million in rewards each year.
Oh, that's not good.
What's going on there?
That's a huge red flag, and it's why the CFPB is taking action.
Yeah.
They've seen a surge in consumer complaints about rewards programs, and it's clear that something's not right.
Something's not right.
Yeah, there's some shady business going on.
So there's this allure of rewards,
Right.
but also a darker side where things can go wrong.
Exactly.
What's the first trap we need to watch out for?
Devaluation.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's a classic bait-and-switch tactic. You're lured in with promises of valuable rewards. You diligently earn those points, and then bam, the company devalues them,
Right.
making them worth less than when you earned them.
Ugh, that sounds frustrating.
It's super frustrating. Imagine you're finally ready to book that dream trip to Europe using your hard-earned airline miles. You go to book the flight. The number of miles required has suddenly skyrocketed. Your miles are now worth a fraction of what they were, and your European vacation might be out of reach.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
So this devaluation issue really caught the CFTB's attention. They're not just sitting back and watching, they're taking action.
They are.
What are they doing to protect consumers?
So the CFPB is urging investigators to scrutinize company accounting to see if the value of rewards points has been quietly decreasing over time.
Okay, so they're watching.
They're sending a clear message, we're watching you, and here's the kicker. They're holding companies accountable even if they try to blame the devaluation on a third-party partner.
That's good news. So we've got devaluation.
Right.
But it's not the only issue, right?
Not even close.
What other dangers are lurking in the world of credit card rewards?
You also need to watch out for hidden conditions.
Oh.
Think of it as the fine print trap.
Ugh, the fine print.
Companies can bury all sorts of complex terms and conditions deep within their agreements, making it easy for them to revoke or deny your rewards.
I'm getting a little nervous now. What are some of these sneaky things we should be looking for in that fine print?
Oh, they can get pretty creative. The CFPB circular gives some specific examples.
Okay.
For instance, they might use vague terms like gaming or abuse to deny your rewards without clearly explaining what you did wrong.
So it's like they're speaking a secret language?
Yeah.
I could see how that would be incredibly frustrating.
It's super frustrating. And that's not all. They might revoke your rewards if they decide to close your account, even if you haven't done anything wrong.
Right.
Or how about this one? You earn a promotional sign-up bonus, only to find out there are hidden restrictions that make it practically impossible to actually claim it.
So you think you're getting this amazing deal, but it's actually a mirage.
Exactly. And these aren't just hypothetical situations. The CFPB is seeing real consumers complaining about these exact issues.
So what does all of this mean for us credit card users? What can we do to protect ourselves?
The bottom line is knowledge is your best defense before you sign up for any credit card. Read the fine print carefully and don't be afraid to ask for clarification on anything that seems vague or confusing.
Great advice.
Yeah.
So we've got devaluation and the fine print trap. What else should we be on the lookout for?
Another issue arises when systems fail.
Okay.
Imagine you've earned a ton of points and you're ready to redeem them for a hotel stay. You go to transfer your points to the travel partner and poof, they vanish into thin air because of a technical error.
I think I would actually cry if that happened to me. Did the CFPB highlight any real-life examples of this?
They did. There was one consumer complaint where someone lost all their points trying to transfer them to a travel partner due to a system error. And to make matters worse, neither the card issuer nor the partner wanted to take responsibility.
That's infuriating. So if I understand correctly, even though the issue might be with a partner company, the CFPB says the credit card company is ultimately responsible for making sure that the redemption process goes smoothly.
That's right. They can't just pass the buck.
They have an obligation to ensure their partners are playing by the rules too.
Exactly.
That's good to know. So the CFPB is exposing these potentially unfair practices.
Right.
But what are they actually doing to protect us?
The circular itself is a big step. They're sending a clear message to the credit card industry and to other enforcement agencies saying, hey, we're on to you and we're serious about protecting consumers.
So they're shining a light on these shady practices and giving other agencies the tools to take action.
Exactly. And that's a powerful combination.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what does it all mean for us everyday folks? What should we be doing to protect ourselves?
Don't panic. The CFTB is on your side, but you can help yourself by being informed and proactive. Start by taking a close look at your own credit card agreements and the practices of your rewards program providers.
So channel our inner detective.
Precisely what hidden conditions might be lurking in your agreements. Are you truly getting the rewards you deserve?
That's a great point. We often just assume everything is on the up and up.
It's easy to get complacent, but in the world of credit card rewards, a little vigilance can go a long way.
So stay informed and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, and the more you understand about how these programs work, the less likely you are to fall victim to these sneaky tactics.
Great advice. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored the allure of rewards programs and uncovered some potentially unfair practices
Lots of shady stuff.
used by companies.
Right.
But our exploration isn't over yet.
No, it's not.
In the next part,
Yeah.
we'll delve into even more real-life examples of these practices and how the CFPB is using its authority to fight for consumer rights.
I can't wait.
You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the sometimes confusing, often frustrating world of credit card rewards.
It can be a jungle out there.
It can. In the last part, we talked about some of the tactics companies use that the CFPB is keeping a close eye on. Things like devaluing rewards points and hiding tricky terms in the fine print.
Yeah, those sneaky little things.
What else should we be aware of?
Well, let's talk about how companies actually present these programs to us. The CFPB is concerned about companies overemphasizing the positive aspects of rewards programs
Yep.
while downplaying or even obscuring potential downsides.
So it's all about presentation.
Pretty much.
Make it sound super appealing up front, but bury the less appealing details where people are less likely to see them.
Exactly.
Classic marketing tactic.
Uh,
But how does that actually work with credit cards?
Think about those flashy credit card ads we see everywhere. They often highlight how much you can earn with images of dream vacations and big piles of cash. They might not be so upfront about restrictions limitations or the possibility of your rewards losing value later on.
It's all about creating that initial wow factor, right?
Yeah, hook people with those shiny rewards without giving them the whole story.
But the CFPB is saying that this kind of marketing can be deceptive, right?
Exactly, especially if it leads consumers to make decisions based on incomplete or even misleading information. Remember, not telling people something important can be just as deceptive as making a false statement.
That makes it. So it's not just about what they say, but also what they don't say.
Right, it's all about the whole picture.
It sounds like the CFPB is really emphasizing transparency and clarity in how these programs are presented.
They absolutely are. They want you to have all the information you need to make good choices without being swayed by marketing hype or those hidden gotchas we talked about.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what does it mean for the future of credit card rewards? Do you think we'll see some big changes coming?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but the CFPB circular is definitely a warning shot to the industry.
Okay.
It's a clear sign that regulators are paying close attention and are prepared to take action against practices they consider unfair or deceptive.
So companies might start cleaning up their act to stay out of trouble with the CFPB.
Hopefully, yeah, nobody wants to get in trouble with the feds.
Sounds like a win for consumers. What about those of us who already have rewards cards?
Yeah.
What can we do right now to protect ourselves?
First, don't rely solely on those flashy marketing brochures. Dig into the cardholder agreements and rewards program terms and conditions. Look for anything that seems vague, confusing, or contradictory to what the ads promised.
So channel our inner detective and scrutinize that fine print. Got it? Anything else?
If you spot something that raises a red flag, don't be afraid to ask questions. Contact the credit card company or the rewards program provider and get some clarification. And if you feel like you've been misled or treated unfairly, think about filing a complaint with the CFPB.
It's good to know we have some options if we feel like something isn't right now. Are there any specific examples from those consumer complaints that really highlight these issues?
Oh, there are tons. The CFPB circular actually includes several. For instance, some consumers complain about companies abruptly eliminating the option to redeem points for statement credits.
Oh no.
They'd been saving up points, expecting to use them to lower their bills, and then suddenly that option was gone.
Wow, that's not right. It's like changing the rules of the game in the middle of playing. And I bet that's especially hard on people who are relying on those statement credits to help manage their money.
Exactly. It shows how these practices can have a real impact on people's lives, and it underscores why transparency and clarity are so crucial in these programs.
So we've got companies potentially misleading people about rewards and changing the rules without warning any other complaint highlights that stand out.
Another common complaint involves those tempting sign-up bonuses. Remember, they often come with a bunch of restrictions, and some consumers found those restrictions were either unclear or impossible to meet.
Yeah, those sign-up bonuses can be tricky. You think you're getting this amazing deal, but then you end up jumping through hoops and still not qualifying.
It's so frustrating.
It is so frustrating.
That's exactly what the CFPB wants to prevent. They want to ensure that those sign-up bonuses aren't just bait to lure people in, but are actually attainable rewards that are explained clearly up front.
It's like that old saying, if it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is, you got it.
So with all this in mind, what can the average person do who just wants to use their credit card and earn rewards without being tricked?
That's a great question. It's important to remember that not all rewards programs are the same, and not all companies are engaging in these questionable practices.
Oh, okay, good.
There are some good ones out there.
Okay, so how do we separate the good from the bad?
Do your research. Look for companies with a solid reputation for transparency, clear terms and conditions, and consistent rewards programs. Read reviews from other consumers, check out independent ratings, and don't hesitate to ask tough questions before you commit to a card.
It's all about being an informed and empowered consumer, which is exactly what these deep dives are all about now. Before we wrap up this part of our exploration, what in the CFPB circular surprised you?
What stood out to me was their focus on the entire ecosystem of rewards programs. They're not just looking at the credit card companies themselves,
Okay.
but also at the role of third-party partners like airlines, hotels, and retailers.
That's a really important point. It highlights how interconnected these programs are and how things can go wrong at different points in the process. But how can the CFPB hold those partners accountable if they don't have direct authority over them?
That's where things get a little tricky. They can't directly regulate those partners, but they can influence their behavior by holding the credit card companies responsible for what their partners do. It's like saying, if you're going to team up with these other companies, you better make sure they're playing by the rules too.
So it's a way of applying pressure indirectly to make sure things are fair across the board. Clever. Now, I know we need to move on to the final part of our deep dive soon, but before we do, what else should we know about these third-party partnerships?
One thing to remember is that even if a company has a great reputation, things can change. Partnerships can dissolve rewards, programs can be restructured, and terms and conditions can be updated. So stay vigilant and watch out for any changes that might affect your rewards.
So even with companies we trust, we shouldn't just assume things will stay the same forever.
Exactly. Complacency can be costly when it comes to credit card rewards. Always stay informed and advocate for yourself.
Great advice. I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. It's clear that the CFPB is sending a strong message to the credit card industry. Consumers deserve transparency, fairness, and rewards programs that live up to their promises.
Absolutely. And our journey isn't over yet. In the final part of this deep dive, we'll explore what steps the CFPB is taking to enforce these principles and what the future holds for credit card rewards programs.
It's going to be interesting. You definitely won't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Deep Divers. We're in the final stage of our exploration into the world of credit card rewards. So far, we've uncovered some potential traps like devaluation and hidden conditions, and we've learned how the CFPB is working to protect consumers from these practices.
It's been quite a journey, but now we come to the big question.
Yeah.
What's the CFPB actually doing to put their words into action? How are they going to enforce these principles and make sure the credit card industry plays fair?
That's what I'm really curious about. What's their secret weapon?
Mm.
Do they have a special credit card police force or something?
Well, not quite a police force, but they do have some powerful tools at their disposal.
Okay.
First and foremost, they have the authority to supervise many financial institutions, including those credit card issuers. That means they can conduct examinations, review a company's policies and procedures, and identify areas where they might be falling short.
So they're like the credit card watchdog, keeping a close eye on everything these companies do.
Exactly. And if they find evidence of unfair, deceptive, or abusive practices,
Boy.
they can take action.
Uh-oh.
That could include issuing fines, demanding restitution for consumers who've been harmed, or even pursuing legal action.
Wow. So they're not messing around. Companies definitely have a good reason to comply with these regulations.
Right.
No one wants to end up in trouble with the CFPB.
Nobody wants to mess with the feds.
But what about the people who have already been burned by these shady tactics? Is there any recourse for them?
Absolutely. The CFPB has a robust consumer complaint system,
Right.
and they take those complaints very seriously. When they see patterns of problematic behavior, they use that information to inform their supervisory and enforcement activities.
Yeah.
They can also help individual consumers resolve disputes with credit card companies and get the compensation they deserve.
So even if you've already been tricked by one of these sneaky tactics, it's not a lost cause. You can still fight back and seek justice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have rights.
That's right.
And don't be afraid to use them. And remember, those consumer complaints are valuable data points for the CFPB. The more people who speak up, the better the CFPB understands what's happening in the market and can focus on the most pressing issues.
It sounds like we can all play a part in making the credit card rewards landscape fairer for everyone. But beyond enforcement, what else is the CFPB doing to protect consumers?
They're also focusing on prevention. They're educating consumers about their rights, giving them the knowledge to spot these tricky tactics, and encouraging them to shop around for credit cards with transparent and valuable rewards programs.
It sounds like knowledge is our best defense.
Absolutely.
And resources like this deep dive can help break down complex regulations and provide the insights we need to make smart decisions.
That's exactly right.
So if we take a step back and look at the big picture, what does the future hold for credit card rewards? Do you think we're moving in a more consumer-friendly direction?
You know, it's hard to predict the future with certainty, but I'm cautiously optimistic. The CFPB's increased scrutiny and focus on consumer protection is definitely a positive sign.
That's encouraging. But are there any potential downsides to this increased regulation? Could it stifle innovation or lead to less generous rewards programs overall?
That's a valid concern. It's always a delicate balance between protecting consumers and allowing companies to innovate.
Right.
But I believe that clear rules and fair practices can actually benefit both consumers and companies in the long run.
So,
When consumers trust the system and feel confident that they're being treated fairly, they're more likely to participate. And that ultimately benefits everyone.
that makes sense. A healthy, transparent market is good for business. So this CFPC circular seems like a pretty big deal for the credit card industry. Any final thoughts on what this means for us regular credit card users?
The main takeaway here is that you have rights, and you shouldn't be afraid to exercise them. Read the fine print, ask questions, and demand transparency from your credit card companies and rewards program providers.
Yes.
And if you encounter any unfair or deceptive practices, report them to the CFPB.
Great advice. It's been a fascinating deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about these programs and what the CFPB is doing to keep things fair. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Just stay informed. The credit card landscape is constantly changing, so keep up to date on the latest regulations, trends, and best practices.
And don't let those rewards programs use you. You use them.
That's right.
Make them work for you to achieve your financial goals. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of credit card rewards.
My pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious.